All right, this is the full body joint mobility series that I do as part of the warm-up before training. Generally what I do is I start with the top of the body and I work my way down. So I do all my standing mobility, starting with the head and the neck, and then I work my way down, then I move to the ground and finish with the mobility exercises on the floor. That way it helps me remember the series, and it's just easier for me to work my way through the mobility series. Now, for the purposes of the video and keeping it short, I'm going to do about 3 to 5 repetitions of every exercise, but generally I'm going to work about 10 to 20 reps of every exercise, or if I'm really stiff, I may even do more repetitions. So joint mobility is really one of those things you can't do too much of, but again, for the purposes of this video, we're only going to do about 3 reps or so of each exercise. Now I'm going to start at the top of the body, work my way down. So the first thing that we start out is the 3-way neck mobility. The first movement is to extend and flex the neck. So you're going to look up and you're going to look down. When you do this, don't think about hinging the neck, but think about elongating the neck as you look up and then elongating it as you look down. So there's a bit of a stretching component when we're doing these mobility exercises. Now the mobility exercises are different than actual flexibility in that with the mobility exercises, they're done with a continuous movement. So we're not holding and stretching a position. That is a flexibility exercise, which we're going to look at in a different video. So the second part of the 3-way neck is lateral flexion. We're basically going to tilt ear to the shoulder and then ear to the shoulder. So we're going to go side to side, again, moving in a controlled but continuous pace. Now the general rule of thumb for joint mobility is if you feel pain through a range of motion, we want to assess a pain tolerance scale, okay? If we're looking at a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being just unbearable, horrible pain, basically we only want to work through about a 2 or a 3 on the pain scale. So if you start to feel pain, what I want you to do is cut the range of motion slightly and not go into the range where you begin feeling that pain. So very low on the pain tolerance scale, about a 2 or a 3. And then as you improve your mobility and the joint starts to heal, you can increase your range of motion over time. But we never want to push through extreme amounts of pain when we're doing these exercises. So the 3-way neck, again, we've got the flexion and extension, we've got lateral flexion, and then the last of the 3-way neck series is rotation. We're just going to twist the head side to side. Good. Now we're going to move on to the shoulders. We're going to do shoulder rotations to the front and shoulder rotations to the back. When I do shoulder rotations, I want to lead with the thumb so that I'm sure to work the shoulder through the greatest possible range of motion. That way we're opening the shoulder and closing the shoulder as we're doing the exercises. So we're going to start out by circling the shoulders to the front. Then we're going to circle the shoulders to the rear. Now we're going to go back to the front, only we're going to do kind of an alternating pattern. So we're going to go to the front, and then we're going to go to the rear. And that variation just brings the shoulders and the chest and the upper back a little bit more into play. Now we're going to work our way down to the hips. This is just our hip rotations. So what we're going to do is take a slightly wider than shoulder width stance, put your hands on your hips or put them in your lower back, and what you're going to do is rotate your hips to one side in a circular pattern, and then you're going to switch and go the other direction. Now I'm going to do a deep full squat. We're doing this for mobility reasons, so we want to keep the heels down and squat down as deep as possible. So basically in this one, you want to squat down as deep as you possibly can with your heels on the ground, all right? When you get down to the bottom position, you can sit here for a few seconds and just you'll feel your lower back stretching out a little bit, but that's the full squat. Now we're going to move on to knee rotations. I'm going to do this with my feet apart, knees apart, hands on the knees. What I'm going to do is circle my knees inward. Then I'm going to circle them outward. Then I'm going to bring my feet together and circle them both in one direction. And then I'm going to go the other direction. So those are our knee rotations. Now we're going to get down onto the ground and we're going to do some spine flexion and extension. This is often called the cat-camel or cat-cow. And what we're going to do is round and arch the back in opposing directions, trying to mobilize the spine from the base of the skull all the way down to the tailbone. Then we're going to do hip rotations. We're going to first rotate the hips to the front by extending the leg back and pulling the leg up and around. And then we're going to go to the back. Then we're going to do the bent knee twist. What we're going to do is lay down on the ground. We're going to have our feet apart, maybe about 10, 12 inches or so. And we're going to roll the knees side to side. Now you only want to go so far that the opposite shoulder does not come up off the ground. So that's how you're going to determine your range of motion on these exercises here. So only roll side to side as far as you can without the shoulder coming up off the ground. Now we're going to do a lower body rotation. We're going to bend the knees in a 90-degree angle. Hips are totally extended. The bottom arm is going to be curled up, resting on the shoulder. Top hand is going to be down to brace. What we want to do is lock the upper body in place, and we want to roll the thighs and the hips forward, and then back down. Then we'll get the other side. Then we're going to move on to our chest opener. I like to use a foam roller for this one. What you want to do is extend the bottom leg straight, rest the top leg on the foam roller, or if you've got a mat or something that you could rest your leg on. The knee is going to be in a 90-degree angle, the hips in a 90-degree angle. Arms are stretched out in front of you with your hands together. We're going to open up the chest and rotate backwards, only as far as we can go without the knee coming up off the foam roller. Then we're going to rotate back to the front. Make sure you follow your top hand with your eyes as you do this exercise to really open up the stretch. We're going to go to the other side. Again, the bottom leg is extended. The top leg is resting on the foam roller with the knee in a 90-degree angle, the hip in a 90-degree angle. Arms are stretched out in front of you. Open up the chest, look behind. And then we're going to finish up with ankle mobility. Generally, I just do this sitting on the ground. I'm going to rest a leg up on top of the knee so that the ankle is unrestricted. And I'm just going to grab the toes, the ball of the foot, and just rotate my ankle in one direction, and then switch and go in the other direction. Again, for mobility exercises, I generally do about 10 to 20 reps at least. Sometimes I'll do more. Again, because it's not strength training or heavy lifting, you really can't overdo this stuff, especially if you've got some problems in joints like arthritis or stiff, achy joints. You know, joint mobility is one of those things, if you don't use it, you'll lose it over time. So you really can't overdo this stuff. It can be done every day. It should be done every day. It can even be done multiple times a day. The more you do this, the better off your joints are going to feel, and it'll enhance your training as well as just your rest and recovery.